Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for another installment of Slab and Gab here on the channel where we look at a graded card or graded cards from my collection and talk about them a little bit. And in the background today, we have a nice Jaromir Jagr CSG 9 Upper Deck rookie card. And chose to feature that one because today's card, which will be placed in the open stand on the right, is another early 90s, very iconic hockey rookie. It's another player who played overseas initially and then migrated to the United States and is also in a CSG 9 slab as it stands. Was a really big fan of these slabs. I think I'll still like them after the recently announced slab redesign, but I am not one of those folks who was against the original green slab here. I think they look really nice. Clearest plastic in the hobby, and really enjoyed picking these up during the short time where they were the flip design for CSG as a grading company. And today's card is, as I said, from the same year as the Jaromir Jagr that you see there in front of you, 1990-91. And for those of you who don't know, that was the year that the hockey landscape really exploded. So if you're a baseball card collector, then you know in the year 1981, the baseball card landscape really expanded. It was a Topps world prior to that, going all the way back to the 50s. But beginning in 1981, other companies got into the mix. Most notably Fleer and Donruss. And in the world of hockey, the transition happened almost 10 years later, but wasn't that much different. So all the way through the 89-90 season, Topps and O-Pee-Chee, which was its Canadian counterpart in the hockey card business, that was it. They made one set, same design from both companies. Topps usually had a smaller checklist, but that was it. There were oddball cards and other things, but you collected Topps or O-Pee-Chee, and then you moved on or waited until next year. And in 1990, a lot of other companies joined the fray. Upper Deck, like you see there with the Jagr, Pro Set, Score, tons of others. And in an effort to keep up with that, the folks at O-Pee-Chee released a set called O-Pee-Chee Premier. And in that set, there were some notable rookies, Jagr included, although that's not the card I'm showing today. The guy who I liked the most when I was a kid out of that release, and the card that I thought was the most significant, was this one right here. Sergei Fedorov of the Detroit Red Wings. Just really nice, clean design by O-Pee-Chee when they released this set. They had to answer to the likes of Upper Deck, who were kind of exploding onto the scene and taking the trading card game to a new level. And O-Pee-Chee Premier in 1990 was O-Pee-Chee's sort of answer to a higher end set for collectors. Much like Topps did with Stadium Club on the baseball front in 1991, O-Pee-Chee did that kind of same thing with O-Pee-Chee Premier in 1990. Was a relatively small set, but featured some really big rookies. And this one was chief among them when I was a childhood collector, and is still a pretty cool card to this day, in my personal opinion. For those who weren't hockey fans in the 1990s, Sergei Fedorov was about as exciting and dynamic a player as they came. He was one of the first players to migrate over here from Russia and to play in the NHL and really experience tremendous success. The Red Wings were an absolute powerhouse dynasty of a team throughout the 90s and early 2000s. Sergei played with them for the first 13 years of his NHL career, from 1990 all the way through 2003, and was right up there with Steve Yzerman in terms of the most important members of that team that made them a success. And so if we look at, really what made this card significant is, Sergei as a player, and he was a hot name in the hobby in 1990, right alongside Jagr and Eric Lindros and players of that ilk. And then this card in particular, as I said, it was sort of a step up from the classic O-Pee-Chee sets of the past. And where it's most noticeable actually is the back of the card. So all the way up through 1990, O-Pee-Chee and Topps cards had very plain cardboard backs, much like you would have seen in Topps baseball throughout the 80s or 70s. Cardboard backs, stats, vitals up top, nothing else really going on. And in the O-Pee-Chee Premier release, they gave you a second photo on the back, full color printing instead of just black and white printing. And this, as I said, was sort of the answer to Upper Deck, who on this Jagr card, we don't have a photo, but they really took the backs to a new level with colorized printing and things like that. And so in an effort to keep up with their competition, O-Pee-Chee Premier, did the same with that 1990 release. Now, they made another Premier set in 91, 92 that they printed way more of and is nowhere near as popular. And then the brand continued on from there. But this this inaugural O-Pee-Chee Premier release was a huge deal back in the day. Getting a pack of this stuff at a hobby shop, which, by the way, included no inserts or hits at all, just base cards. I think it was like, a $6 or $7 pack back in the day. These Fedorov cards went for big money. And, and nowadays you can get them at reasonable prices. And I think they're a very fun throwback to those early days of the exploding hockey card hobby. And as an example, I picked this CSG9 up for $19.99 with very cheap shipping. So it was about $20 or the price of a blaster to get that slabbed Fedorov card. And of course, Sergei went on to have a monumental career, scored close to 500 goals. And the only reason that number wasn't higher is that he was oft injured in the latter years of his career and only played about 1,200 career games. But three-time Stanley Cup winner, one of the best Detroit Red Wings ever to play the game, one of the best Russian-born players ever to play the game, first Russian-born player to achieve 1,000 career points, and was the MVP of the league, the Hart Memorial Trophy, in 1994 when he was just about the most dynamic player in the sport of hockey. And then lastly, what I would say about Fedorov is he was one of the best clutch or postseason performers in the history of hockey. If you were in a close playoff game that went into overtime, you wanted this guy on your team and you wanted the puck on his stick. He just had a knack for rising to the occasion in the biggest moments on the biggest stage, and was totally instrumental in the dominating run that Detroit had and their 3 Stanley Cup championships that he helped to bring to the city of Detroit. So very, very as underrated as a Hall of Famer can be, but I think an underrated player to a degree. I know, he's not mentioned often alongside the likes of Jaromir Jagr and Wayne Gretzky and those types of players. I think he just didn't accumulate the number of career games that were, required to get up close to, high thousands or 2,000 career points or anything like that. But when he was on his game for those first 13 years, especially, he was at times the best player in all of hockey. So a lot of good memories watching him play throughout the 90s, growing up as a hockey player myself, and was really, really happy to bring that slab home for, the price of a retail blaster. So nice job from CSG Grading here. Love the card, and really appreciate you stopping by to hear a little bit about the history of Sergei Fedorov and to admire one of his more, beautiful looking rookie cards, in my opinion. So thanks for stopping by. Truly appreciate it. And I'll be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. Until then, take care.